Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another week with the Modern Market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market, that is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to hopefully make a hell of a lot of money on the internet. Hopefully. Loaded up for discussion today, we have Bitcoin dropping below 100K. That is not good after US-Iran strikes. That's also not good, but it bounced back to 101K. So that's where we are at the moment there. We'll be diving into that, as well as OKX reportedly considering US IPO after re-entering the US market in April. Circle stock keeps going up. We'll be talking about that. And finally, Telegram stickers. Important headline for the day, netting NFT IP companies millions of dollars. Definitely want to explore what is going on in the Telegram sticker market. We'll be talking also on general price action on crypto and NFTs, and a discussion on what we think is going on in general. So stay tuned for that. Glad to say I've got Legendary and Bread in the co-host seats with me today. We are looking forward to get into it. But just a reminder before we do that, nothing we say here is financial advice, because the market is pretty risky and we are not sure about anything that will happen. Nothing that we say is financial advice. Please exercise your own caution and maybe even your own judgment if you think that is wise. And even if you don't, please do so. With that out of the way, Legendary, it's Monday, it's the 23rd of June. How you doing? How you feeling?
GM Jim, doing quite well. Spent the weekend going out, spending time in the sun, paid the price for that, had a mini heat stroke, which I recovered from. But I'm back.
That's what happens when you go away from the computer. You just got a heat stroke.
This is
the way he he tells us this stuff before the show, and the way he just hammered that is way harder than like the intro with us. Hey guys, feeling a little down this weekend. Yeah, I had like the heat was low, whatever. And then first line here, heat stroke. I was out for a little bit.
It's like I was away from the computer, got a heat stroke.
Don't ever leave your computer. Never stop clicking.
Exactly. But I did have another golfing lesson. I have another one coming up tomorrow. I got a little errand to run tonight to buy a driver. I had asked the question on X which driver I should pick, and Ping, the G430, was mentioned quite often. I think that Oxy mentioned that one specifically as well. So that's the one that I'm getting. And yeah, I see him thumbs upping. And then we'll go on with that.
It's pretty fun.
The days of picking clubs. There's so many things you can pick and try and test, and it's you have a long journey ahead of you, sir.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's so many things to buy, and I have the budget for that. So that's exactly the problem.
That's dangerous.
I think it's the same as investing. Let's draw an analogy to investing here. It's like there's all kinds of analysis you could run. There's all kinds of like data you could crunch. There's all kinds of numbers you can chart against each other and figure out what's the personal best portfolio or something of clubs or whatever concoction of elevation you should have for your driver and wedges or whatever. But in the end, if the swing is strong, if you go with your gut, hit it, just give it a whack, Legendary, and you'll be okay. That's my approach to investing as well.
You need proper gear. I always love buying gear.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're a numbers person. You're an investigation person. If you're going to track your sleep, you're going to track what clubs you've got as well. So
yeah, I bought I don't know the brand. I forgot it. The trackers that you put on every club. Then you have the app. It tracks like every swing that you do. It's fun. I like that.
That's funny. Sure. It's kind of interesting though. Like we're completely different in that way. Like I don't want to track anything to do with my life because I feel like I'm tracking other stuff already. Whereas you just like love the info. And obviously you can make it work both ways. I mean, kind of drawing the parallel with investing here. Like I go with my gut a lot.
Alex Finn had a post on that. What was he? NFT God, right?
Yeah, he just purged everything, right?
Yeah, he see if I can bring it up. It was actually an interesting post because he said like he got super stressed by all of the Aura rings, all the tracking. There we go. I'm gonna bring it up on screen in a second because it went quite viral. Yeah, he said, got rid of my Apple Watch, off my Whoop, got rid of my Aura Ring, muted Brian Johnson, no more sleep scores, no more recovery scores. Optimizing every part of my life caused more stress than it solved. And I feel like
that's the camp I'm in.
Because you are in that camp and you're aware of that. For me, I'm completely different. I find it, I sleep very well and I find it relaxing to wake up to a great sleep score. But if it stresses you, there's no point in tracking. So it's like only worthwhile doing it if you actually enjoy the process, in my opinion.
Yeah, you got to like the process, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, and you have to maximize it because, like, then it also is backwards looking. Where if you wake up with like a 70, you're gonna like, oh, I feel shitty today because like I do whatever. Where it's like you maybe don't feel shitty that day, or you would not feel shitty if you had not seen that number. So it's like self-fulfilling.
And that's the thing, right? Like you feel good because you keep getting 93, 94.
Yeah.
What about when you're going to start getting 72?
Yeah, if you didn't figure out the system, like you could put that fucking ring on.
He's probably just
fake
hacked the
finger.
system anyway. That's what he does with other stuff.
Yeah.
Is it just airdrop farming for sleep score?
There's the, what is it? Kudis, I think, is the Web3 brand that does an Aura like ring. You can now import the Aura data, and they have a token as well, so you can actually sleep to earn. Yeah,
I had a GM band that was like a Whoop style thing. That was very similar. Web3, get a wallet and shit.
Interesting. Okay, well that's fun. Brad, what are you, before we get into the headlines, what's keeping you up at the moment?
Literally was keeping me up was a dog. We ended up getting it this
Got
weekend.
the dog? Very nice.
We had to I did a little post on it where the thing was like being driven across states to get to us. Like we adopted it sight unseen, but like had interviewed it and met the people, whatever. But it was several states away, so it had like a 40-something hour bus ride with a bunch of other dogs because apparently there's a problem. Anyways, we ended up driving to meet it because I have to go to permissionless tonight. Actually, our time, and I'll be out of town. Like, well, fuck, I can't have a new dog and like not have any time with it. So we had to like speed it up a little bit. So speeding it up meant driving 3 hours out of our town to meet it at like midnight. So like again, 3 hours away. So it wrecked everything for a person that goes to sleep at 8 and wakes up at 3 a.m. sometimes 4 a.m. Yeah, that was my Saturday day and night. And then the next day is a brand new dog that we have to like train and like get comfortable with shit and do all that stuff. So ate a lot of time. It was worth it though.
Big commitment taken on there. And as you said, I guess you're heading to New York this week as well. So that'll be exciting to hear.
So if anyone's going to be there, hit me up. I'm there tonight.
I wish I could have got over. Really, really wanted to get over. I will not be able to be there, but we're going to be seeing each other soon. Anyway, I think we'll get more into that on another day, I believe. So shout out to all the people in the Twitter comments. Good morning to all of you. Diablito, Matthew, Chai, Gavels, MK. I've got people just on fire in the comments these days. We don't talk enough about the Twitter comments. Good morning to all of you. Good morning to people on YouTube as well. Have a good start the week with you all. Right, let's get into it to get you up to speed. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. So let's start as usual with the majors. 1.2% is what Bitcoin is down. 104,000 obviously dipped a lot more over the weekend. We'll get into that. The hostilities increasing in the Middle East.
101K. Just
what did I say?
104.
Oh, okay. Just making up the scores, even when I'm looking directly at the score, which says 104, 101. Okay. ETH is flat at 2.2. Gosh, that feels pretty horrible to say. Obviously taking a bit of a hit, down 14% on 7 days. Bitcoin's down 5% on the 7 day. XRP down a couple of percent to $2. BNB is down 2% to 618. Solana is also down 14% on the week, though flat now in 24 hours, down to 133. Doesn't sound too good based on where we were either. Hyperliquid is actually up 3% on the day, but it is down 20% on the week for context. So that's at 35. So you can kind of read that two ways, I guess. Down more than all the others on the 7 days, but showing a bit more strength, like literally in the last 24 hours. Sui is down a couple of percent to $2.50. So that's kind of taken a big hit for a while as well. Getting into the headlines themselves, we have Bitcoin dropping below 100K after US Iran strikes, bouncing back to back over 100 now. OKX reportedly considering US IPO after re-entering the US market in April this year. I want to tie that together with the Circle discussion today, which is up another 8% in pre-markets to $260. We really got to, we talked about IPOs the other day. I want to talk IPOs a lot more because I think that is the next pump fund style activity that we are going to get involved with in the space, whether it's Bitcoin treasury companies or otherwise. I think that's the fun we're going to be having, and I want to talk about it again today. And then finally, Telegram stickers, net NFT IP companies, millions of dollars as primary sales sell out fast. Did one of you want to come in there quickly before I continue?
On which one? The IPO stuff, like I've seen a lot of conversation around that with I think Janowitz from Blockworks was talking about it on the Weekly Empire. And basically he's like, man, it feels like a little bit of a meta, and you're probably gonna have easy buys for the next like six months to a year, right? Like anything that
100%.
IPOs, you probably just buy. You just click buy. Whether it's like Gemini's coming up,
Yep.
there's a few others that are kind of hidden. He's like, just keep your eye on it and see if you can get in. It's we probably see this playbook work out for a little bit.
Correct.
I like the analogy that you made last week, B, where you said that IPOs are like pump fun in terms of the IPO is bonding and everything before that is pre-bonding, and then we watch the IPO after the meme coin bonded and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, that's exactly my thinking. The framework of my thinking was what Legendary said, and what Brad said is what I think will happen in the next 3 to 6 months. Like during those 3 to 6 months, you get some really nice kind of just press buy opportunities. Watch people go crazy over, the first chance to get stock crypto exposure, and then this stuff starts crashing down at some point in time because lots of it will not be worth what.
You guys may not be aware of this, but you know what happens within the next 6 months? It'll be the 4-year cycle top.
Ooh, perfect.
So
Perfect.
if this
what a
IPO
wonderful storm
ridiculousness actually
Bitcoin
happens
treasury company
over the next 6 months, and then like it becomes like the universal top, and we all start getting weird and going down from there. Well, the 4-year cycle has come back to live again.
It will strike again. That's actually perfect. I love lining those two things up. Okay, that's definitely one to keep an eye on. Appreciate that. Right. Let's get into the rest of the updates to get you up to speed. We've got some notable price action here. We've got Hype up 6%, Fartcoin's up 4%, Sonic is up 8%. Some notable sales.
They have their drop coming soon, right? I think Sonic has their like big
Sonic's
airdrop.
got one of the
like,
airdrops coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. It's only at 890 FDV though. These blockchains have really kind of lost. There's no guarantee that they're coming
lower,
out
brother.
anymore.
I'm telling you guys, it's this infra shit is. You need to do more.
I saw a really great post, Brad. I'm pretty sure you'd be super aligned with it, with what you guys are building at Mega. But it's like all chains are turning into incubators, basically. And that was one of the big bets you guys took some time ago, right? Where it's like, no, the apps are what's gonna propel us forward. So we need to, if we're gonna build the infra, we're gonna like really, really support the people who are building on top of us to get it moving, because that's where the value is gonna. Well, that's at least part of the value creation for the chain as well.
Yeah, it's two parts. Go ahead, Legendary.
Go on, because I want to circle back to Sonic. So go on, Brad.
Yeah, I'd say like it's two parts. One is like, yeah, you obviously need apps just like generate economic activity on top of the chain. Like that's not new information, but I think it's just like becoming consensus that like it needs to be heavily emphasized. Like if you're gonna, otherwise you're in GMI, and then you got to retain the apps, right? We've seen Blast had that start and then didn't actually retain the apps, which is like the secondary problem. And then the third thing is, yeah, like with Hyperliquid, you're starting to see this idea or concept that there's like some level of first party apps that you need to retain and or develop on the chain to generate more revenue outside of, or one, to actually generate revenue, and then to generate more revenue outside of just like base fees, because like the fees for the chains are being driven to zero for everything, right? Solana's trying to be bigger and faster. We're trying to be bigger and faster than Solana. Someone's going to come across to try to be bigger and faster than us, and bigger and faster in the context of blockchains means more transactions for cheaper costs. And if you do that, that means that you're generating less value. You need sheer volume, and there's only so much organic volume that can actually be generated on any given chain, right? It's taken 5 years for Solana to generate 1,100 TPS on the chain pretty consistently. It takes a lot. Now we're getting inflow of new use cases, and like things are getting normalized. So the hope is that you grow the pie, and there are people that come on chain, like we're talking about Stripe and all these things that are adopting like actual blockchain rails. Like the hope is that them coming in means you get more people that are willing to spend more money, and that volume continues to grow. But yeah, like chains are going to have to start adopting like exogenous stuff to actually be able to generate value for their native token outside of just like give me money to process a transaction.
Yes. I think that's going to be a theme that continues for the rest of the year into next year, because the pure blockchain trade, the spin up an L1 and be worth $1 billion is gone. I think that's pretty much guaranteed now. Ledge, what's going on? Let's get back to the updates on the NFT side. Anything to note? What are we seeing? What's interesting?
Before I get into that, real quick comment on Sonic. I think the way they do the airdrop is interesting. They will distribute a total of 190 million Sonic tokens. That was just season 1 of farming. However, so this season 1 ended. Now they're in a review period, going to take a couple of weeks, and then they will distribute, but it's going to be vested. So you will be able to claim 25% immediately. The remainder of 75% is vested over 270 days in an NFT position.
Legal.
So you can probably either sell the NFT. I didn't see it mentioned that it's soulbound, but you can also claim early. And by claiming early, there's a decay mechanism at play. That's not surprising to see them doing that. Which
what mechanism?
A decay. That means basically that it's a linear decline of burning tokens. So if you claim, say, after 30 to 60 days, you will burn anywhere between 89 to 78% of tokens, and so on and so forth. So you can claim early, but you can burn the tokens, which is what was G-Funk, the reboot, which is how Reboot did it as well when they relaunched this Reboot and had their like planets and all the NFTs, and you could claim tokens, but you could claim early and then burn the remainder of that. So they're going for the same thing here again.
If you're watching the screen, you will probably see the disgust on my face. Like, this is not. This is just
okay. What if we mix in gambling? Right. I don't think we have enough gambling. How about I wish Adam was here. So let's do a claim with you can get 100% vested, but you have a verified randomness applied to it where you burn X% of your stake. It could be 0 or it could be like 70% of your claim but you get 100% unlocked day 1. Would you opt into that? Like, it's just like I'm feeling lucky, click a button, 100% unlock claim, and maybe you get all of it, or maybe you get 20% of it. Would you do that?
Memeland does something like that when you're used to do when you vested your tokens to farm stake and you were like claiming them early, you would burn, I think, a part of them, but it was random how much it was. It was like you were given a certain like
visionaries.
And Shuffle did something similar as well. They had also vested part of the airdrop.
But this was only for top accounts, right? Or was it for everyone?
Memeland?
No, for Shuffle.
No, it was for everyone. You claimed a certain portion, and the rest you could wager to accelerate your unlock. So like for every, I don't know, 50 or 100 bucks that you wagered, you would unlock 1 extra Shuffle early. Yeah.
I think on a gambling platform, kind of makes like that sounds fun for a gambling platform. Like I can see how that one is actually kind
Circle of IPO. You get a verified random, burn your shares.
Yeah, it's like pre-bonding. You get to decide.
Yeah.
No. Okay. My take on this is, I think for the very top holders, maybe I really don't like when you get imposed something much later. Like this is kind of like pulling the rug from underneath you, because you don't know what the deal is going to be in advance. Maybe there's a world in which like your very, very top holders, you need to put like some kind of vesting in, but like look how badly that went for Blast. Like you capped, you kind of you impose this like barrier
thing for sure. Like you immediately burn sentiment.
Yeah, you just burn it. Like, okay, it just happens to be the case. Me and Ledge, I don't know, maybe Ledge is still on it, but I've moved off Sonic anyway because I was like farming this a little bit. But if you did this to me and I had the significant amount that I had on it, which I did, and this happened now, 2 things would happen. If there was anything that was like, oh, if you stake with us and you get this, or you can claim it all and get this, I would just claim it all. It doesn't even matter. Because you've done this. In fact, to be honest, the same thing is for me in all cases. I'm just going to claim it all. I'm going to sell it because that's why I allocated the money here. Like, that's the realistic thing. Sure, maybe there's people who are more long-term aligned. But I think I don't know. I just think it's a pain, and I don't think it's a long-term strategy for keeping people necessarily. But I kind of get it, because I'm the exact kind of person that they would not have wanted in this instance, because in this specific instance, it's mercenary capital, isn't it? So I do understand, but I'm certainly not going back to Sonic. So I'm not sure what they could have done differently. I don't think the tokenomics can fix that. They can only make the price go up, and maybe that fixes it. Okay. Any final take there, Ledge? I mean, you were on Sonic a little bit before me.
No, I farmed, moved my money off, put everything I had on Sonic into Hyperliquid. We'll see whatever my, I don't know, millions of points, or God knows they had inflated numbers at the beginning, will translate to. We'll book
That's the
that
thing,
and move on.
It's so hard to track anyway, isn't it? Because like the numbers have got so silly. I don't know what the APR is going to end up as, but okay, we'll keep an eye out. We'll keep an eye out still.
Reminds me
Obviously,
of
it's part of the game.
LRTs. Mine, I could not math out like all of the different points that I got between EtherFi and Renzo and Swell and Eigenlayer and all this shit, and then I just ended up getting money back. And I just looked at it, and squinted, and like I'm pretty sure I just got fucking obliterated. But like it's so hard to tell because there's so many layers and so much complexity. Not great.
But the FOMO mechanism worked. I remember this was one of the first conversations that we had, Brett. It was like on the Pearls, I think they were called on Swell. And you were telling me, oh yeah, with Pendle, you can get like a 47x multiplier on your Pearls, like for every ETH you put in if you do this and that. And I was like, fuck. You only need to put like 10 ETH in and you have 470 ETH in that ecosystem for you basically.
They did this vesting thing where like I like they said to me, there's like, bro, you got the most points, you're doing all this shit. And then like I'm like, fuck yeah, man, I did it. Like I got the most. I felt great about it. And then like you do the math on the token after fact. I'm like, it was like $6,000. Like you're making me vest on $6,000. What are we doing here? And I was one of the big ones. So like there's no way I made money on this.
Yeah, not great. Not great at all. Okay, good. We got that conversation out there. Right, let's get the rest of the roundup wrapped up so we get into the main headlines, which should be an interesting discussion today. Just a few other things you need to know first. Metaplanet bought another 1,111 Bitcoin for $118.2 million. Kindly, MD raised another 51.5 million to expand its Bitcoin treasury strategy, bringing total capital raised to 763 million. That's one of the Nakamoto companies. Texas Strategic Bitcoin Reserve was signed into law by the governor there. Liminal, one of our favorite hyperliquid protocols where you can, it kind of automates the basis trade by holding some spot and shorting for you at the same time, and you capture the basis. Announced new model for caps on hyperliquid, 4-week cycles with dynamic caps per asset. Bitcoin, Sol, and ETH are full. Those caps are full, but the hyperliquid cap is open. So that might interest you. Reddit to consider using World ID verification system by WorldCoin, founded by Sam Altman, and Coinbase obtained a license in Luxembourg to offer crypto services across EU member states. A couple of things on the social crypto side. OpenLedger deadline for submitting wallets for top yappers is today. They announced something where if you place pretty high on their leaderboards, there's a leaderboard that got circulated and you need to DM them your wallet if you are on it to receive something. I don't know what you're going to receive. Hopefully some money. Humanity Protocol announced first ever fair drop after users completed Palm verification. I think I tried to sign up for this, then it wanted Palm verification, and I didn't do that. I don't know if I'm in or out on that. I'm not sure. And CreatorBid announced multiple rewards for the Kaito ecosystem. So that is interesting to see.
Man, CreatorBid. I remember hearing about that like a year or two ago. Like
probably not as long as that. Probably 6 months ago, just when the AI stuff
just feels like that.
Just as recent as November, December, right?
I don't know, man. Like, so I heard about it really, really early. Like it was AI agent something, create an agent to do stuff. It was one of the first iterations of that before any of the craziness started popping off. So minimum was 6 months. I think it was probably closer to a year, if I'm being honest. But it's crazy to see that this is still just like iterating.
Well, it's good they're still going.
Yeah.
Some things have obviously fallen by the wayside. Good that they're still going there. Before we get into the main headlines, anything else catching your attention here from the rest of the roundup, boys?
This is an excellent reminder, and I owe you for that, B. So next dinner is going to be on me that I need to submit my wallet for OpenLedger. I had no idea.
Wow.
I made the list.
What a thing. Let's make it an expensive one.
Absolutely.
Steak, caviar.
Depending on how big the claim is.
Depending on the claim.
Yeah, I actually need to go look at that. I saw the list of all the people that were on that, and I don't think I've ever. I know we did some content on it. I don't remember how impactful that was for me. So I need to go check and see if I'm on the list.
Have a check. I saw one of our audience members, Eleni, messaged earlier to ask what that was. Hope that's plugged the gap for you. Didn't get a chance to respond to the comment, but I think that'll be helpful. Go have a check. General
Did we talk
thoughts?
about your repeat top of the board for Infinex? Dude, BCheque's crushing it. He got number 1 again for Infinex. That's 2 in a row, right?
Correct. Yeah. I think so. We're going into week 5 of the Infinex season 1 of Yap Run. It's all cumulative though, right? So there could foreseeably be a world where, like, because of week 3, and whenever we did the interview, I got loads and loads and loads, although I was kind of high anyway. And because of that, maybe I've like got really far ahead. And actually last week I didn't even post on Infinex last week. So there's a reasonable chance like the week before, or maybe there was like a tweet that had something. And then I posted one video towards the end of the week, but I think that was after the cutoff.
You know, a lot of this stuff is pretty evergreen in that regard, like mindshare is broadly. I just noticed that, and yeah, it should be done now. So Boop, remember the platform Boop that was competing with Pump Fun? They pivoted to do a 1 million token, whatever leaderboards, like they're doing that.
Okay.
I haven't tweeted on them forever, but I remember I tweeted early on about like, hey, this is an explainer, like this is what it is compared to Pump, whatever. And I've just been sitting at like number 3 on that board for the last month. So I should get whatever allocation that is in the next day or so, because
well, you're going to get like $250,000 or something.
No, yeah, like, well, it's a million Boop, which is basically zero these days. So I'll get a million zeros. Yeah, that one didn't work out. I still can't believe there's no. I'm waiting for crime on that chart. There has there's not just going to give up, right?
Well, one of the reasonable points that people made on Boop was that, you know, people get very excited when certain people get involved, and Dingaling, I think, has been awesome in all kinds of ways as an investor, as a collector. People love him as a collector. But, you know, all people, no matter how great their reputations are, like, they'll have failures as part of their journey, right? I think it was Legendary who pointed out, he did do LooksRare as well as the NFT marketplace when like that mania happened and that didn't work out. So as many good things as the good people do, there'll always be things that might not necessarily work out too. So let's see.
Speaking of that, we've like I'm starting to get approached a lot more for doing investments, like angels and stuff in deals. And I just keep seeing this sentiment of like people that have been doing it for years at this point, and they're like, don't touch it, don't do it. Like all these angels are going to go to zero. Like it's a volume game, frankly. And like, so I'm getting a little skittish on like, you know what, like there's some projects that have come up and I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. So I'm wondering if that like really is just worth picking your spots, or if you go volume and just like, all right, we got to allocate whatever, 50 grand and just like splitting it up amongst a bunch of different projects.
I've been thinking about this a lot because it's something I think we're going to do more of increasingly. And to be honest, when I look at like the spreadsheet of how I as an individual performed in that specific arena, and I think Legendary is probably similar, I did like really, really well. Like I've definitely got cooked on 1 or 2, but like I appreciate some people say it's a big numbers game, and I didn't.
Is it just because you do the work up front, you think?
I don't know, man. Like I guess it's like one of these things where I'm trying not to be too overly analytical about it, where it's like, you know, why was it that it's gone so well? Maybe it's just some good instinct every now and again. Like maybe it's a little bit of luck, but you know, say I did maybe 15 over the last year or 18 months. It's gone pretty well. And I think, so to answer your question, do you just do spray gun, which, because that's what everyone says, it is a numbers game. I will never subscribe to that, because I think there are ways to minimize your risk. And I think given how deeply embedded we are into the industry, I think there's ways that we can get better information and feel more confident than the average VC, even who is not like super connected and, you know, is trying to strike up these relationships with people. Whereas I feel like we're more embedded, so we are closer to the action in some way. So I feel like that's our edge, and I feel like I don't need to. And look, who knows? This is obviously an incredibly risky game, and sure, some of mine also went to zero. But I don't think I'll ever believe that it has to be pure scattergun. I think you can outperform with like strategic allocation and thought. And that will be my bet. And, we were talking privately the other day about like one big one that I think we are pretty confident that we're going to be doing kind of together. And I'm kind of open to more, but I do think that the regulatory environment has changed things a lot, like so much. And a lot of people that might have previously dropped tokens, it might make sense for us to be way more interested in the equity now. And I think that's completely changed. And Hyperliquid has changed things in the sense that, like, look, if there's no buying pressure for the token, like, why are you doing a token, guys? Why are you doing one? I think the landscape's really shifted really quickly. And so you've got to be super aware of that, because that's like a real danger spot for a lot of people, I think. Ledge, what did you think? And then back to Brett to circle back.
I agree. I don't think that the scattergun approach is the right one for everyone. As opposed to VCs, we don't have to invest money, right? We're not sitting on a certain amount of funds that absolutely needs to be invested. It's not the game that we're playing. I think often it's a question of timing. We've kind of seen that with Portal, which was extremely popular, and that was then done with Arcadia, Mickey's agency. And after that, everyone wanted to jump on every Arcadia deal, but the first one was
burned, yeah.
And the last one was that, I don't even remember, like some sort of game that apparently did utterly horrible and had very unfavorable terms. So, and I don't even know if Arcadia ended up doing that with them or not, but I know it was like discussed that they had partnered up with them or so. So often timing really matters. And as you said, you do have an edge in this when you are in this space every day, all day, as opposed to people who are doing other things, even as opposed to VCs that might be Web3 native or Web3 adjacent, but still have a different way of like working and approaching this space. And again, I think one of the most helpful things there is that we do this daily show, which allows you to get an excellent read of market sentiment. And I feel like that then saves us a lot of time on the due diligence process, because we are very much in tune with how the market's moving, just as a result, just as a matter of the fact that we've been doing the show for more than like 530, 540 episodes by now.
Yeah, that's my view. Brad, what's your reflection before we hit the headlines?
That I hate it because now it's making me question my decision to change my decision on how I feel about things.
Were you about to do scattergun?
Like, yeah, like I wasn't about to do scattergun. I think I was actually leaning more towards like just like reeling it in. Like, listen, man, like, is this arena I really want to like spend the time and energy in? Because like, if these people that are doing this professionally are getting fucking nuked on 9 out of 10 deals, and it's like, okay, then that means I probably got to dedicate a lot more time. But maybe the misconception on my side was that like I'm probably already doing that time, like just naturally as a byproduct of like spending time in the space, doing these daily shows, like all this shit. So like a lot of that time that I was maybe hesitant to give is this time. So
yeah, I sorry, go on.
That was it. Legendary. That was his acknowledgement.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's it. Just pure sound acknowledgement.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would not discount this 60 minutes plus like the 30 minutes that we chat after as part of like the rigorous analysis of the space, like all the time. And yeah, I do think it's like a separate job, and I do think it's something which I'm taking more and more seriously. And I do the other thing you pointed towards, like, separate professionals who do it and they're getting nuked. I just don't know how good anyone is at anything, man. Like I don't know if this is offensive to people or not, but my general perspective, whether it's investing in VCs, whether it's investing in crypto, whether it's investing in anything, is like most people are just sheep. It's like, if you look at all these VC deals, you have like a headline, a lead round, a person who leads the round, right? A lot of the other VCs are they're not leaders. They're just waiting to try to get on to the round that A16Z led, like, or get on to the round that Placeholder led, or get on to the round that Dragonfly led. Like, it's just pure sheep activity. So I'm not certain that people are necessarily executing in the best way. They're also doing it with all kinds of money that they might not be, that they have to allocate, rather, whereas we can be more strategic about it, right? So I don't know. I'm still kind of bullish on it. The one thing I would say, I think you can probably tell I've been thinking about this a lot, like IPOs and equity. I told, I've said on the show, the two people I invested in, as long as 6 months ago, was Rect and Spencer at Orange Cap Games. And the reason was because I thought back then, 6 months ago or last year, it was the first 2 times people have talked to me and I said, well, I'm kind of interested in the equity here as well. Like, sure, you're going to drop a token, but I think in the next 12 to 18 to 24 months, like the equity itself will be interesting. And I believe that to be true 100% with Rect, definitely with Orange Cap Games, with what they built with Vibes. And now they've acquired Moonbirds. Fine, that's cool as well. But I think the equity side is something I'm increasingly just dwelling on, because I want crypto equity. And, when we've been speaking privately about the one we're going to do, which is quite big, unsurprisingly, no token, equity only. It's like, okay, that's exciting me in a way that I bet it would not have been possible to get people excited about that before in crypto.
That actually speaks to one of the biggest headwinds of dealing with crypto, is because with traditional finance, right, you have stocks. Usually, like if you get equity of Apple, you get Apple stock and then that's good. Like, but with crypto, you own equity in Orange Cap Games. They can have Moonbirds. They can have like 9 different tokens that launch over the next 12 months. And if you don't have, like, if you buy a token, you get 1 of 12 tokens. If you buy equity, you conceivably get share in all 12 of 12 tokens that come after the fact. So like this dilution effect that can happen in crypto because it is so easy to spin up all these different things. Like, imagine if Amazon spun up an AWS stock, like outside of like the Amazon stock, right? And the fragmentation that would create, and like, how pissed off people would be if like they had their Amazon stock, Amazon does AWS stock, and then that captures all the value from their entire AWS business. Like we see a lot of that in crypto because it's very easy to split up and do multiple tokens and get people that way.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting conversation. Glad we went there, because, and in fact, maybe we're going to go there more because, in fact, maybe we should go there straight away since we're talking about it. Let's come to Bitcoin in a bit, and the maybe geopolitical stuff in a second. But since we've been kind of dwelling on tokens and equity and things like that, let's get to what was going to be the second headline of the day, which is that OKX is reportedly considering a US IPO after re-entering the US market. And coupled with that, Circle is just on a heater, still up another 8% in pre-markets to $260. So this is the news that OKX, a major global crypto exchange, is considering an initial public offering in the US, according to a report from the Information. The exchange announced its US expansion in April after a $500 million settlement with the DOJ in February. So over allegations of operating a money transmitting business without a license. This has been kind of common, right? Binance had a humongous fine as well. You pay.
Try to do it to wallets. Like if you have a wallet, you're a money transmitter, which like people inside the tech are like, that doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Well, yeah, whether it makes sense or not, just like pay the fine, then you get to carry on doing business, basically.
Yeah.
So OKX, the CEO had some interesting comments, actually. This is where I think it gets interesting. The CEO told The Block in an interview in May that teams looking to build a super app in the US, and their long-term vision, of course, is to become a category-defining super app, and we plan to slowly work towards that goal. At the time, the US CEO noted that OKX's American team had expanded to around 500 employees across New York, San Francisco, and San Jose. And then finally, they said this, which is obviously one of the most important aspects for why lots of people are trying to get in or want to IPO now if they're involved in crypto. The US is no longer what you would consider an impossible market. He said it's an untapped opportunity if approached in the right manner. So you've got that going on. So we've got OKX to discuss, and then simultaneously you've also got Circle just not going down. So where are we now? 256 in pre-market, up almost 7% on the day.
Unreal.
This is just
can you look at what's Coin doing? This is the combination of these two is still frankly pissing me off a little bit. God, come on, girl. You're getting 50% of Circle. Catch up.
Led, what's these two market caps compared against each other?
Right, it was just
yeah,
Visa.
interesting to check Visa and Mastercard as well. Just talk this through, Ledge, so for people who are just listening in and not watching.
Yeah. So what we're seeing with Visa is down 9% over the last 5 days, last week alone. And someone on X, I don't remember who it was, made the point. Like, one thing is to see Circle going up and be sure, yeah, that's being treated like a meme stock and everyone's pumping that. But the other thing is seeing those two things happen at the same time, which is both Visa and, let me see, Mastercard going down. Mastercard is also down 9.5% over the last 5 days, while Circle is seeing this pump.
Is this isolated though? Like, is it isolated to like the just Mastercard and Visa being hit this heavily, or like a lot of other majors getting hit in the same way?
Not really. It is more
Okay.
isolated. If you go to Finviz and we go, where is it, to the 1 week performance, not a lot happened. Apple up 1%, Amazon down 1.5%, Nvidia down 0.8%. Yes, Google was hit a bit harder with 5%.
Financial, they're just getting hammered.
But yeah,
There's a really awesome segment on the All In podcast over the weekend where they looked at performance year to date and the real dispersion between the Mag 7 and how, you know, typically all of these things have just been placed in a bucket, right? Like Mag 7 leads everything else. They all do great. Everything else is kind of mid now. But if you look at the Mag 7, I don't have the chart with me today, and I am going to butcher the numbers, but there was real dispersion. It was like Tesla's down 20% year to date, whereas Nvidia is up, I don't know, 8% year to date, whereas Apple was down 6% year to date, whereas Meta was like up something. And it's just like for the first, and I think what one of the conversations that we're having is because of AI and the disruptive nature of that, you have a real opportunity here for there to be some variety in performance, including within that traditional 7, the Mag 7 bracket. Completely, I had not thought about that before, but I really, really agree with that in the sense that I think that there's this, it's a category, it's just a defining moment for all of those things on how they implement this next generation of technology. And I think one of the views was whether you're levered towards AI, that would be helpful, or if you're levered towards crypto. And so, like, obviously, Circle is the beneficiary of that at the moment, and maybe a number of these other ones will be too. Question for you both then, moving away from Circle potentially, what do we like about? Do we like OKX coming to the market? I know we don't know their numbers, but you've obviously got Gemini that have announced they're going to come to market. Robinhood already exists as a financial app that people are maybe a bit more familiar with. OKX wants to do this as well. Is this just part of the pump fund strategy that we're going to do? We're going to buy every one of these IPOs and see how it goes in the next 3 to 6. Just coming to you first, and then Brad.
Yeah. Just to quickly answer Brad's question first, Coinbase is at a $78.5 billion market cap, and Circle is at 58.2. Hood is somewhere in the middle, 69.
Just to double check with people, like consensus here is that like Circle is wildly overvalued relative to Coin, right? Do you think that's
fair? The hope is Coin should get pulled up, but then you have to bank on it's narratives, right? It's memes. Like the same thing with everything. The meme of Circle is so much cleaner than the meme of Coinbase, right? Because yes, like if like logically you should look at Circle and go, look, if you think this thing is worth this and it's giving away 50+% of its revenue to Coinbase for distribution, and it's going to continue to do that, then anyone who puts that bid on Circle should logically like value Coinbase at 50% of that plus all the other things that it does. It's like you should conceivably value it much, much higher than it currently is. But the question is, like, it's messy, right? You have to dig into the financials to understand that. It's like Coinbase isn't just this play on stablecoins, even though it has a significant amount of revenue from a pure stablecoin play. So you have to wonder if the market's actually going to catch up there.
Question out loud. Phunky, your hand is raised. Maybe I definitely want to hear you come in on this, but also maybe to ask this question, just kind of came to me now. Do you think this is pricing in as, it's literally called USDC coin? Sorry, no, it's USD coin. Is this, I'm trying to find a funny way to say this. It's not funny, is it? but is this like the US coin? Like obviously all dollars are the coin of the US, right? However, is this like the coin of choice? Is this the one that is government backed, government approved? It's clear, like there's always been a bit of a divide between USDC and USDT, right? There's always been that divide. USDT seen as the one that's more
there's a little bit of like
proliferated.
regulatory arbitrage here. Yes. So
South
like, yes,
America or China. So like, is this the US like bidding this thing because this is the one that is
it is the US coin.
unofficially stamped, the US coin? Phunky, curious for your thoughts there. Am I going down? Am I making any sense? What do you think?
Jam, yes, I think you make perfect sense. And I was just going to say, back in 2020, I actually made the prediction that I said by 2025, USDC will be the de facto CBDC of the United States of America because it already has all the rails built out.
That's what I'm thinking the bet is. That's the only way I can explain this. Sorry, carry on. I keep interrupting.
No. And I'm like Brad, right? In the sense that I don't understand. My youngest brother, who is probably the furthest removed from all of crypto and anybody in my family, reached out to me and said, "Did you get in that Circle IPO?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." And and it's kind of one of these things where I just, like Brad, I just feel burned because I'm like, it makes no sense to me. Like, I just cannot wrap my head around the fact that why is it getting such a valuation when almost all the money, well, half of its money, as Brett pointed out, is being driven to coin. So I don't understand that. But I did want to say just real quick, getting back to the OKX and the IPO stuff, something I neglected to mention in last week's Blockchain Association membership meeting, and this is very important, was that the Treasury Department, this is really interesting, the US Treasury Department has been actively asking Blockchain Association members and their government relations specialists to help repatriate foundations that have been offshored for years. They're trying to lure companies back to the United States and developers. They specifically said, if you know members who are at foundations and or developers, see what you can do to try and bring them back to the United States. This is a request from the US Treasury Department. This is super, super interesting that they're asking the Blockchain Association members to actually reach out and do that kind of outreach on their behalf.
That's amazing.
Yes. Very, very interesting. I'm kind of aligned there. That's kind of something that's been on my mind. Right, that's super interesting. Good to see. Signal is with us today. Signal, you have your hand raised. Welcome to the show. Good to have you back with us. How are you doing? And what is your thought here?
Yeah, afternoon, BCheque. Good to see you guys. I think the Circle debate is so interesting because a lot of people in this space think about Circle in terms of USDC. That's where I park my money when I want some stables on the side, and then I want to invest in something later. And I think a lot of people don't really understand how the banking sector is going to be using this asset. And that is why it's like, it is not a meme stock at all. Stablecoins are completely going to transform how the banking network speed, the banking network's cost, the transparency, the agility, the compliance around everything. And so what you should be comparing Circle to is Visa. Already they have come quite close in terms of transaction volume. I think Circle came close to what Visa's volume was in 2012. But I don't see it as a sort of Visa or Circle. I actually see those two worlds commingling because Visa know their lunch is being eaten. But really, you need to think about USDC from an institutional perspective, because that is what is so interesting. So you think about a Turkish company that needs exposure to dollars today, and it's Saturday or Sunday. They will go from Turkish lira into US dollars on a Saturday via stablecoins, because their platform provider, an institution, Infinex, will enable that transaction. And I think that is what a lot of people are not thinking about when they think about Circle. So I think personally that there's more value to come into the future. I invested as soon as I possibly could when it IPO'd 2 weeks ago. And I think the Genius Act has obviously helped the propulsion and the momentum behind that stock. But I think people need to start thinking about Circle from an institutional perspective and not so much from a retail perspective.
Very interesting, Sig. Thanks for that. Do you think then it is still undervalued here, or how do you think it relates to Visa? Do you think it goes much higher? What's your kind of thought to the next 3 to 6 to 12 months?
So I never like sort of picking numbers because I'm very bad at being able to pick specific numbers, but I do like to think of things very much from a macro perspective and like, what is it that Circle is trying to do? And the closest comparison I can say is Visa. And I think those two worlds will come together. I think you're going to see a lot of partnerships and stronger partnerships going forward in terms of what Visa is doing and what stablecoins are doing, or Mastercard is doing. And also, as well, there's no other issuer on the platform. There's no other issuer on the stock market that will give you this type of exposure to stablecoins. Everyone's talking about Tether, but Circle and Tether are apples and oranges. If you look at them operationally, Tether might not want to even IPO. They are a fast, lean, small company. Circle is a behemoth. It's a speedboat versus a super tank. So I think for that reason, it becomes very interesting to be in Circle as an investment, but you also have to think, will there be other players coming to the market that could potentially take Circle share? Who are they? And will they even want to IPO? So that's how I'm thinking at this from a macro perspective. For now, I am going to keep my exposure. But if Tether ever came forward and said, yes, we want to go into stablecoins, I would dump my Circle and go into Tether. But I don't think Tether is going to do that. So I'm very happy to be in Circle.
And by
Tron
that, you
will,
mean,
though.
Yeah, by that you mean Tether going public, right?
Yes, by that I mean Tether going public. Yeah.
Sure.
But
okay.
I know Tron. I know Tron might do it, but again, I'm thinking about this from an institutional perspective. So, is a super large asset manager or a really large bank going to use Tron? And are their competitors going to use it? USDC, that is correct, but for Tron right now, that doesn't exist. Not that it doesn't exist, but it's not being used to the same extent that Circle is.
I mean, Tron is the de facto Tether chain, right? That's I'm saying that's what the rationale is, right? It's like if you can't get exposure directly to Tether, but if you want exposure to Tether, and 60% of all stablecoin transfers in USDT take place on Tron IPOing, and I know with Plasma coming, like that dilutes a little bit, but like I think that's why Justin Sun is trying to IPO ASAP, because he sees kind of the writing on the wall with all these other chains that are Tether backed, Tether endorsed coming to market. And if he IPOs now, I know for a fact there are people that see Tron exposure as a de facto Tether exposure, because that's basically the only way you can get to it. And it will take time for like Plasma and Stable and all those other ones to get spun up. But like that's the rationale there.
I like it.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you on that. Sorry, BCheque, you can cut me off. If you guys want to move on, cut me off.
No, go for it. Go on.
But I'm just going to come back to you on that. I think so. There were a couple of red flags when I saw what Justin was trying to do by doing the reverse merger as a sort of like get to market as quickly as possible under the current administration. It allows you to cut corners, but obviously legally cut corners. But for me, that just sent off red flags. And then you have his previous history of everything that he's done. Circle has tried to IPO for years and years, and has failed to IPO. So this is a huge event. And what I'm always thinking about is JP Morgan, is Fidelity, like these are the kind of names I'm thinking about. Are those characters going to be using Tron? Or are they going to go to a brand and a team that perhaps has done things more traditionally? These are the questions I'm asking in my head.
I think that's the excellent question, because I think the answer to that question is almost certainly no. And maybe lines up a little bit with what eBrink is mentioning in the comments, kind of taking the conversation in a different direction. Maybe Oxy, you can come in on this as you give your take. eBrink said, big question is, will Stripe just adopt USDC and or USDT, or will they make their own stablecoin? VX Crypto also shared that Trump stablecoin is coming up too. And so I guess one of the questions is, okay, yes, at the moment, the institutions might want to lean into Circle more. Maybe Signal mentioned it as like the more traditional, taking a more traditional path versus someone like Justin Sun, who's built his empire out in the way that he has. But there will be alternative options. How is Stripe going to, who is Stripe going to kingmake here? Coinbase has kingmade Circle in a way, right? So what will Stripe do? How does anyone in the US right now, as things stand, when Trump is president, not integrate the Trump stablecoin? Genuine question. Are you not gonna do the Trump the president stablecoin while he's still president? Like, I don't know. It's kind of insane, right? But Oxy, let's come to you. We've got a couple of other headlines to get to as well. I know we're running over time, but we'll try to keep it moving quickly. Wanted to stay on this because I think this is the best conversation for the day. Oxy, welcome to the stage, my man. What's your thought here?
Thank you. Yeah, just curious, maybe like a counterpoint, just to kind of get your guys' thoughts on it a little bit. Is this might sound a little outlandish, but are we better off looking at like Circle and USDC as more of a bank rather than Visa or Mastercard? Like if you look at Visa and Mastercard, I think 70% of their revenue comes from transaction processing. I think 75% of that comes from credit cards and processing those transactions for banks. So like, are we better off looking at it like, okay, this is a place where you store your money, and right now it's kind of, that seems insane because you're just processing with Circle right now or with USDC. But the only way that you're going to start generating that type of revenue as Visa or Mastercard when you're looking at Circle is if they're processing transactions for these banks in the form of credit cards. Like the credit card industry is absolutely insane, and banks are the ones that are issuing those credit cards. So are we better off looking at the USDC as more of a bank comparative to, or contrary to a Visa or a Mastercard?
I actually like that.
Ledge, you want to come in there?
I like that line of thinking as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like in my mind, that analogy, Visa, Mastercard, then makes me think of like a blockchain as opposed to like, right, they're just processing transactions. You're doing it on raw volume, which is what blockchains are ultimately going to compress to, right? Really low fees, and just do it based on the amount of things that you can actually process. And then like that gets me hopeful because then you see like a $650 billion market cap for Visa, which is getting most of the revenue purely from just like, hey, give me a little dollar and I'll let you process this thing. And I would say blockchains are objectively better than like the traditional rails for that. So I like that. But I also don't know what the valuations are of some of these banks. We'd have to go and see what they stack up to.
Personally, as things stand, I'll take the other side of that. I think Coinbase is the bank, at least as things stand. But it's an interesting concept. Go on, Brad.
Yeah, say, well, the revenues from these stablecoins is all from idle capital that's just accruing yield in the back end, right? Which is exactly what banks do, right? You deposit your money, they take that and they get a nice 1 to 7% based on wherever bonds they buy, and then that's how they make their money, right? Or they lend it out further after the fact.
Sure.
Which that is closer to what like a Tether is doing. That's why Tether's fucking crushing, right? It's because everyone gives them their money and they expect no yield, and Tether is collecting de minimis yield on the back end.
Right. Yeah, I take that back. I think, yeah, I was thinking of trying to get on to the next topic. Yes, I agree. I think that is correct. Trouble is in the distribution, though, which I think is
we can move on.
The sense that like the relationship with the customer is maybe the way in which Coinbase is more like the bank, because the bank has the touch point with the customer, and I guess that's where Circle is like one step removed, I suspect. But look, we're going to keep coming back to Circle. We're going to keep coming back to IPOs because clearly we're going to get into that season. I actually tweeted the other day, if you're into memes, pivot to IPOs, because that's where we're going, I think. Right, we've already over time. How do we want to do this?
Speed run.
Yeah,
Brad, Ledge, you want to speed run your bit, and then Brad can speed run stickers.
Yep, I'll keep it super short. We obviously had the US striking 3 nuclear facilities in Iran over the weekend. That led to a lot of volatility in the market. BTC did go to 98K. A lot of alts, ETH, etc. all went down. Also led to more than $1 billion being liquidated on that day specifically. The fear there was that the oil price is going to skyrocket, as Iran also threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz, which sees 20% of the world's oil flowing through that. However, the oil price, yes, it is up, but it's also been up over the last couple of weeks. But it hasn't in particular reacted to that further escalation into the US involvement over the weekend. It is still at $75 for crude oil. That is, the implication there is that roughly for every $10 that oil goes up, inflation goes up by 50 basis points, so by 0.5% in the US. The stock market, however, doesn't seem to be really affected by that news. If you look at the pre-market, Dow Jones, S&P 500, Nasdaq futures, basically unchanged. They're only down like 0.14, 0.15%. in the pre-market. Quick, and that's the last point on that. A quick look at Polymarket. Will Iran close the Strait of Hormuz before July? 2.3 million volume on that market. Only sees a 32% chance. Did go as high over the weekend as 50%, but did crack down from that. We spoke about that last week. Strait is pretty big. It's also leading through Oman mostly. The 5th fleet of the US Navy is stationed in Bahrain, so it's pretty difficult to accomplish that and close off the strait.
Okay. Good quick summary there, Ledge. Any reason for concern there? My view is still that the straits will not get closed fully. Any particular thought?
I think very, very similarly. I don't think that we'll see the straits being closed. And I think the panic over the weekend that this is going to lead into World War III was a bit overblown. And the stock market is not reflecting that in the pre-markets. So,
did you buy the dip?
I did not over the weekend, no. Because I'm
deployed a little bit.
Pretty strongly allocated to what I want to be allocated, other than being able to pick up some additional BTC. There wasn't much that I wanted to buy.
Yeah, I'm in a similar situation actually at the moment. Okay, that is good. Bread, hit us with this kind of interesting, kind of going into a different angle here. What do we need to know about Telegram stickers? The market's kind of been moving. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, people are making a shit ton of money over there. People being like traditional NFT collections. So Telegram operates on top of doesn't on top of, but it integrates with the TON blockchain, TON. And people have been noticing that there are sticker packs being sold for Telegram stars, which are the off-chain in-app purchasable monetary system that can then be exchanged for TON on the back end, which allows us to actually find a dollar equivalent to like what these things actually are. So if you these NFT collections are coming to market, they're able to sell sticker packs for these stars, and those stars can then be exchanged for TON. That TON can then be exchanged for dollars. And whenever you start doing that math, you can see that these NFT collections, notably Pudgy Penguins, Bored Apes, Azuki, Claynosaurs, Doodles, Lil Pudgies, Chimpers, all these NFT projects are selling these sticker packs and making a shit ton of money in a market where they're typically not making a lot of money. NFTs notoriously are pretty hard to monetize with royalties and initial sale, all that stuff. It's kind of been hard to make something sustainable. So you have to kind of continue to look for some of these very collectible or collection forward deployment methods, and they have capitalized on it. So total of 9.4 million in sales for across all these collections. Just again, listing off some of the ones that I called out. So Pudgy Penguins have done 1.9 million in primary sales. Bored Apes have 460,000, and then Bored Stickers. I'm not sure if that's actually affiliated, but 1.4 or 1.5 nearly $1 million. Azuki 250,000. Doodles 500,000. Claynosaurs 180,000. So all these NFT collections have come. They've released these stickers. People can purchase them with Telegram stars and then use them in app, get a little bit of a flex, a collector's item, all this stuff. And teams are making money. So market's doing good. 26 total collections, 142 different sticker packs, and just something to keep your eye on if you want to get over there and play around a little bit.
Very, very interesting. It's cool. I think Telegram, this makes complete sense to me that people would like to do this. The only question I have is like, so you buy these in packs, and then there's a whole secondary market, right? So you mentioned the primary market sales that the companies are making, so that goes to them. But now these things trade on the secondary market. And so you have Pudgy Penguins with a current market cap of 3.2 mil, Pudgy and Friends 1.2, Bored Stickers 1, Bored Ape 680. Question for you, Brad, on the quick look that you took. Like, is this one where anyone really wants to speculate? Would we speculate on stickers after they're already kind of moving? Or is this something that people should just be buying, enjoying, using the stickers?
I mean, that's the entire thing with the collectible market, right? It's the same conversation you'd have with Pokemon cards, right? Oh, is it something you buy and collect and hold? It is like we have some finite supply of some of these things. Like you don't know if they're going to have second, third, fourth editions, which I have to imagine all these people are going to go back to the well if they see that there's appetite here. And if these things are actually finite, you don't have to worry about degradation of the actual asset itself because it's digital and finite, which is what blockchain enables. Then, well, maybe it is worthwhile to get some of this stuff and just put it in your back pocket and wait for collectability factor to go up for a lot of these things.
Okay. I'm probably of the view similar to eBrink here. Remember Reddit avatars?
Yep.
You think
Yeah,
that
I would
there's
say I'm
just
in that camp. I'm not going to go for it, but
They were an
Yeah.
amazing trade. The Reddit avatars, yes, they did go
They
to
were.
zero. They were an amazing trade. I printed on the first generation series, whatever that was.
Yeah,
Yep.
because the cool thing about these mass distribution ones is that they're often really cheap at the beginning,
Hmm.
and then even if something goes from $7 to 70, which is very doable, that's like if you've done that in any kind of size like this, a 10x, right?
Yeah.
So that's the interesting nuance to assessing these opportunities, I think, because like
It's
if
been a
the
while
cost
since I looked at the Reddit avatar like volume and sales, but I remember looking at the chart probably 3 to 6 months ago, and it was down only bad. Like the volumes were in like hundreds of dollars across like hundreds of thousands of assets. So like it's basically zeroed out. Part of that could be because Reddit pulled away from it, right? They stopped like leaning into it. Like obviously there's a little bit of a mania at the initial start, but
I agree. I think the collectability of this will disappear, but I just think the business model is great for the company themselves. Like I
course,
think
yeah.
at least say these packs go to zero. All right, well, you've got some cool stickers of the community that you probably still like anyway. At least you actually have something that you can use on Telegram, and then they can keep doing more, and you'll probably still buy them anyway if you like it, right?
Yeah, the interesting thing here that's different from the Reddit avatars is Reddit avatars doesn't really have like a very strong IP, I would say. Like Reddit as a platform is cool.
Exactly,
The attachment you have to Reddit avatars is kind of meh. Whereas like this has infinite IP, right? And it just uses Telegram's distribution, right? I care, or subsets of people care a lot about Claynosaurs. They care a lot about Pudgy Penguins. They care a lot about Azuki. They do not maybe care about like the Telegram native stickers, which is like a whatever thing, because they actually are like these Pepe plushie thing. It's like if they did infinite versions of these Pepe plushies and you try to do it and everyone's like banking on just the Telegram IP, meh. But like if but I guess you could say the same thing about NFTs. Remember NFTs? Remember I had Doug Funny being minted. I had like the fucking Rugrats being minted for a hot second. Those are worth 0.0 right now. So like that argument also doesn't necessarily hold up. There has to be like a like a digital forward, I would say, like lean into like whatever these are.
Good stuff. Okay, so we think good business model for the brand IP owners, probably not great speculative investments for at this stage onwards, but we will see. We'll keep an eye out and we'll keep you up to date as we investigate more, as we follow it more, as well as all the major stuff which we talked about today. Hope you enjoyed the show. I really enjoyed that. We obviously spent a lot longer on the IPO stuff because proportionally speaking, this is going to be a major thing that we need to get our heads around. We spoke about it last week already because we thought it would be important, and I think it's going to continue to be. So
we do it because we love them. We love the crowd. We're helping. We think it's worthwhile.
100%. Hope so. Hope you agree. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to Bread and Legendary for co-hosting. As always, thank you to multiple contributors today. Thank you to Oxy, Phunky, and Signal for jumping up with us. And thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it. Hope we see you again tomorrow. Same time, same place, 7 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour live on X Video, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. You can catch up with us. Have a wonderful day. Take care. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.